This is He Knows His Sport, bringing you that heat and that fire. We keeping the foot on the what? On the next. We keeping the foot on the what? On the next. We have to look at the acronyms of ESJ and DSG. Let me say it again. ESJ and DSG. The acronyms are not making sense. Because when we look at the acronyms of Errol the True Spence, it's Errol Spence Jr. When we look at the acronyms of Danny Garcia, Danny Swift Garcia. Now, to the lamest boxing fan, or the boxing fan that's not using the true boxing eye test, they would just look at this and say, well, you're making a mole out of a mountain. He knows the sport. No, I'm not. Here's the problem with Danny Garcia's acronyms. The S, and I'm going to say this again, the S doesn't belong to his name. It's a acronym. It's a nickname. Swift. Here's the problem with that nickname. Danny Garcia is anything but swift in the boxing ring. Let me say it again. Danny Garcia is anything but swift in the boxing ring. Swift would be what you would consider a Floyd Mayweather. Swift would be what you would consider an Errol in his prime. Swift would be what you consider Errol Spence when Errol Spence is on his shit. That's swift. Danny Garcia is not swift, because when you're swift, you are an artful dodger. You're able to be to hit and get out the way and don't take punishment. Danny Garcia takes too many shots in his fights, man. That's why people say, well, Danny Garcia, he got a chin. You know why? When you hear somebody say that a fighter has a chin, that's because they take a lot of freaking punishment, man. We're not talking about a fighter that has a chin like a Errol Spence or Floyd Mayweather that gets hit here and there because, you know, you're going to get wet here and there. We're talking about fighters that they say they have a chin because they constantly get hit. Do you know why Danny Garcia constantly gets hit in the ring? Because he's flat-footed, man. He does not let his hands go. And you see the right hand left hook a mile away. This is actually the easiest fight to call in a very long time. This is why, to me, Danny Garcia is a tune-up fight for Errol Spence. Because this guy is not even training for life or death. You have to train life or death against the likes of an Errol the True Spence, or you're going to have to bend the proverbial knee. Let me say it again. You have to train life or death with Errol the True Spence, or you're going to bend the proverbial knee. You're still going to bend the knee regardless. The thing is, you can actually make it a more entertaining fight if you train your ass off. This is supposed to be the hardest training fight for Danny Garcia, and he's not treating it as such. So what you're seeing is prevalent of a guy that's going to get stopped. What you're seeing is prevalent of a cash out slaughterhouse. What you're seeing is prevalent of a guy that's telling you that he's in this for the money. Because he knows that Errol the True Spence is high risk, but yet he is high reward. This is why Errol the True Spence is no longer the boogeyman. See, to be a boogeyman like a Dennis Ugas, you have to be high risk, low reward. Let me say it again. To be a boogeyman like the current variation in your Dennis Ugas, you have to be high risk, low reward. But Errol the True Spence is the big fish. He's the megalodon shark. That in of itself makes him the high risk. Remember, what did I tell you guys about megalodon sharks? They are the predators. They have no predators. Let me say it again. They are the predators. They have no predators. So it's high risk dealing with them. But it's high reward because you know that's the money fight. That's the money bag. This lineup that Errol Spence gave you, the reason why he gave you the lineup is because Al Heyman already authorized it. And this is how the lineup is going to take place. Danny Garcia first. Manny Pacquiao second. Terrence Bud Crawford third. But we have to look at Danny Garcia and look at the type of fight this is going to be. This is a tune-up fight. Because Errol Spence has not fought since September of last year. That develops what we call ring rust. When a fighter normally has ring rust because they haven't been in the ring that long, that tells you that it's a tune-up fight. Danny Garcia is a glorified tune-up fight for Errol Spence. So when we look at the acronyms of ESJ, they are phonetic with the name. Oof. What I said was so deep and profound. I need to let that marinate in the corpus callosum and in the cerebellum. I'm dropping gems and I'm dropping jewels. So get the notepads out and get to the damn scribbling. When we look at ESJ, it is synonymous with the name Errol Spence Jr. When we look at DSG, it is not synonymous with the full name. It is a 2/3 variation because we know of Danny Garcia, but it's the nickname Swift, which he is the lack thereof. See, if he was actually Swift, then his full acronym, although it's a nickname, would have had 100% sustenance. Damn, boy, I'm dropping gems and I'm dropping jewels. It's going over boxing heads, man. Only the real G's, the super real G's, and the ultimate real G's out here in these boxing streets will get it. But I'm going to have to rewind that because that one needs to marinate. That one needs to stick in the medulla oblongata. It needs to stick in the corpus callosum. Danny Garcia's acronym would have had 100% validity if he was actually Swift. But he is the lack thereof. Because when you watch him fight, this man is there to be hit. You cannot be there to be hit against Errol Spence. Because in this fight, Errol Spence is going to work the body, man. He's going to be hitting Danny Garcia with combinations upstairs and downstairs at different variations, at different velocities, at different facets that Danny Garcia has never seen before in his boxing life. And that's going to affect him. It's going to impact him. And what you're going to see is Danny Garcia systematically getting broken down as the rounds go on. Plus, Errol the True Spence has an added motivating factor. He has to send the shockwave back to the welterweight division. What do I mean when I say shockwave? The shockwave in letting the welterweight division know that I ain't one to be trifled with. Let me say it again. I ain't one to be trifled with. I am the big fish, but I'm the megalodon shark variation, and you need to fear me as such. So decapitating a Danny Garcia, stopping a Danny Garcia, leaving Danny Garcia in his tracks so that he can get rolled out on a damn stretcher sends a proverbial message to the welterweight division that when you fight against Errol the True Spence, you have to bend the proverbial knee or you're going to get stopped. Let me say it again. You have to bend the proverbial knee or you're going to get stopped. In this case, Danny Garcia is getting stopped. He's way easier than Sean Porter, man. Way easier. Errol Spence doesn't have to worry about work rate. He doesn't have to worry about aggression. He just has to stay clear of that right hand left hook. And even that is not denoting that Danny Garcia is what he is. Because last time I checked, Errol Spence's KO percentage is 80.77. Last time I checked, Danny Garcia's KO percentage is 55.26. Let me say it again. Last time I checked, Errol the True Spence KO percentage is 80.77. And last time I checked, Danny Garcia's KO percentage is 55.26. Do you want to know the differential in that? That's a 25.51 percentile differential. Let me say it again. It's a 25.51 percentile differential. So when we sit here in cockamamie fashion, these Danny Swift Garcia fanboys tell you that Danny Garcia is a more of a KO artist than Errol the True Spence. The numbers don't lie. Like Jay-Z said, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. Let me say it again. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. And what does the numbers denote? It denotes that Errol the True Spence has a 25.51 percentile advantage, distinction in stopping Danny Garcia. When they fight come November, Danny Garcia is going to get stopped. That's the bottom line on it. This is a tune-up fight. And like Errol the True Spence said, tune his ass up. This is He Knows the Sport. Checking out.